Welcome back to our channel. Today I'm going to explain a movie called Jack Reacher. Get comfortable. The theme of the movie is revenge is basically the common theme for most of the books. It's not necessarily Reacher taking revenge for him. Often, it's on behalf of someone else or on behalf of a situation in which an arrogant and contemptuous person prevails in an evil way. The film is about, as we see, in an innocent Heartland city, 5 people are shot dead by an expert sniper. There, the police quickly identify and arrest the culprit, but the accused man writes the words, "Get Jack Reacher." Reacher arrives in the city to bury the guy, but finds more than he bargained for. Shocked at the accused's request, Reacher sets out to confirm the man's guilt, but comes up with more than he bargained for. The film starts. A man drives a van into a parking garage across the Allegheny River from PNC Park in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and parks in a space blocked off to keep cars from parking too close to construction materials. We see that. He then positions himself and his sniper rifle behind the front-facing wall of the garage and starts scanning the area with the scope on the rifle. He then takes aim and starts firing, killing a man, a woman, a blonde woman, another woman, and a young woman. The shooter then jumps back in the van and flees. However, Detective Emerson discovers a shell casing and a parking meter belonging to James Barr, a former U.S. Army sniper. They raid Barr's house and find him sleeping, a van, ammunition, and a sniper rifle. After that, Reacher rushed to Pittsburgh after seeing news of James Barr's shootings, interrupting his relationship with a woman. Moreover, Rodan's only interest is learning why Barr asked Reacher to be a witness. Reacher argues that Barr is not his friend and that if he had asked for him by name, it was for the same reason he shot 5 people. At that moment, Helen Rodan is the DA's daughter and her job is to save Barr from the death penalty. So, she chastises her father and Emerson for trying to interrogate Barr without notifying her. They explain they had not found Reacher, but he came to them. Meanwhile, Helen wants to depose Reacher, but he explains he came to Pittsburgh to bury Barr, not help him. They go to a cafe and Helen records their conversation. After that we saw, Reacher warned Barr that if he ever heard of him doing anything like that again, he would find him and kill him. We learned Barr had trained as a sniper for 2 years, but never got an order to kill anyone. Later we find that Reacher believes there is no need for him to take down Barr and prepares to board a bus. Therefore, Helen is concerned that Barr won't get a fair trial and her lead investigator has access to all the evidence. Later, Reacher agrees to help investigate the case if Helen agrees to visit the victims' families to learn more about the victims. Meanwhile, Helen visits the victims' families to learn more about them, but is threatened by Rob Ferrier, the father of Chrissy, who was shot while trying to escape. After that, Reacher examines the North Shore Trail near the stadium, parking garage, and Fort Duquesne Bridge, discovering that evidence against Barr is almost too perfect. Later, he believes Barr would have stopped his van on the bridge, opened the door, and shot people in a perpendicular line. We saw that evidence included a bullet from a missed shot, a brass cartridge, a quarter with Barr's fingerprint on it, and a video of his van entering and exiting the garage. And then, Reacher believed it indicated someone was careless or not interested in getting away. Later, Reacher goes to the police station and looks over evidence, but doesn't take notes. Emerson speculates that Barr paid for parking as a reflex, without realizing he was doing it. After that, Jeb Oliver tells Reacher to get outside and pay his check, but Reacher refuses. Jeb then tells Reacher he's going to beat his ass either inside the bar or outside in the parking lot. Sandy stays inside, but Reacher doesn't mind the sight of blood. However, Reacher tells Jeb that it's his last chance to walk away, telling him he'll take out the leader first and 2 of the 4 wingmen will try it themselves. Then, Jeb asks Reacher if he has done this before, but he gives a nod and tells him it's getting late. Jack reminds Jeb that he wanted this. Eventually, Jack ducks under Jeb's roundhouse right and kicks him from behind, taking care of him. We see that 2 other men position themselves to attack, but the fourth punches them. Later, the police arrive and Reacher is ordered to lie on the ground face down, asking Jeb who hired him. Jack confronts Cash, an ex-Marine gunnery sergeant, who denies knowing James Barr and threatens to end his business if he is associated with the man accused of the shootings. After that, Reacher asks Helen to find someone associated with Barr, and Linsky meets with Charlie in a dark alley. Linsky explains how he hired 5 local guys to take out Reacher, but it didn't work out. Then, he also tells Charlie that he had killed and distributed the body of Jeb, making him a missing person for the group. However, the Zek orders Linsky to chew off his own fingers to prove his worth. Linsky is horrified and puts his left thumb in his mouth, but cries out that he can't do it. Charlie then takes out a handsaw and appears to be intending to do something to Linsky's body. Later, Reacher is dropped at the Default Auto Parts store, where Sandy works, and confronts the store manager Gary. Moreover, Reacher threatens Gary and forces his way into the back office, where Sandy asks Gary to leave them alone for a bit. We see that Jack is attacked by a third man who holds a handgun to his head and tells him not to move. So, Reacher demands the keys to the man's car and tells Helen that Jeb Oliver was murdered and someone tried to make it look like he had left town. Then, Jack explains to Helen that the evidence against Barr is complete and convenient and that Barr asked for him because he knew Reacher would take a hard look at it. Later, Jack discovers Lebenhauer Enterprises, a shell corporation in Georgia, which acquire local construction concerns and always win bids. Meanwhile, Alex Rodan suggests it may be due to bitterness on the part of the companies who lost the bids. Therefore, Helen suggests collusion with corrupt officials and killings of those who refuse to play along, but her father thinks she is delusional. Later, Reacher calls Helen's cell phone and Charlie answers. Charlie threatens to kill her if Reacher isn't there in 1 hour, but Jack calls again and threatens to beat him to death and drink his blood from a boot. Then, Reacher agrees to come to where Charlie and Helen are, but if he suspects that Helen has been hurt, he will disappear and take his time in tracking down and killing Charlie. Eventually, Cash and Reacher arrive at a rock quarry and discuss their plan of attack, which involves Jack driving down and prompting Charlie and the others to shoot at him while Cash remains on high. After that, Helen asks Zek why he kills so many people for money, and Emerson explains that he had no choice in the matter. Then, Helen tells the men that she's taken steps in case something happens to her, and Zek tells her that if anything happens to her, it will happen in front of her father. So, it is clear that Zek can't allow any loose ends at any level, and if anyone refuses to accept it, they will be killed. Later, Gunny Cash is unable to return fire, leading to Reacher running behind a large rock. Cash then shoots through a trailer house and wounds one of the shooters. Vlad then goes on the attack and hits Reacher in the face with a rock, either knocking him out or killing him. Later, Charlie sends the last 2 men outside to carry on the fight, but they are shot down by Reacher and Gunny Cash. After that, Charlie advises the Zek to get out of there and goes outside to find out what's happened. Then, Reacher orders Jack to put down his weapon and the 2 men prepare for hand-to-hand combat. In the meantime, Emerson is killed by Jack in the office. Jack approaches Helen and asks her who she is. She tells him her real name is Zek Chilovek, which means prisoner human being. We saw that Jack points the gun at Zek and tells him he was born in October, and when he counts up to the number for that month, he will kill him. Then, Zek tells Jack it is the only name he can remember being called in his lifetime. Later, Jack tells Helen to call the police and tells Zek he should feel right at home in jail. Zek infers that an American prison would be a country club, but Jack shoots Zek in the head. Therefore, Helen is shocked and asks Jack about bringing out the truth and providing justice. Jack is preparing to leave again and Helen is concerned about clearing both he and Barr from murder charges. Meanwhile, Jack and Cash jump in Cash's truck and take off as the police arrive. Helen is upset that Jack is leaving and she won't be able to find him. At the end, Helen visits Jack Barr, who is out of a coma and remembers Jack Reacher's promise to come get him. Later, Jack hears a man in the back of the bus yelling at a woman and gets up to walk back to where the couple is sitting. So, that was all from the video. Please, give us a suggestion of movies you want us to upload next. Thank you for watching and being part of our family. Just to let you know, we are posting videos every day for you. Please subscribe to give us more motivation, and you will not miss our daily video.